Jas, hi, afternoon. Thanks for joining me as another guest on our lockdown series. You and I will be discussing key points over the sort of systems and enterprise architecture, which I think we'll both agree is going to be a massive feature within leadership teams really across the land, coping with what the new world's going to look like.
Indeed. Well, afternoon, Simon, and look forward to having a good conversation.
Yeah. So to kick things off, then, what's the difference between sort of an enterprise architect and a solutions architect? Because there's going to be people up and down the country that will see these terms, and for me, they're really subjective. So hopefully, you can shed a bit of light on this for us.
Yeah, no problem. And I think I'll start off with the term architecture. I think traditionally it's seen as a sort of a real technology design sort of type role, focused on business demand, the business saying we want this, an architect will design it and somebody will go and build it. I think in the current and new era, you'll have an enterprise architect that is, more breadth of technology. And I like the term digital technology ecosystem. So being able to put various pieces of technology jigsaw together, put a picture together that's easy to understand, of your landscape, and communicate that out to your CEOs and CIOs, etc., to really gain some understanding of the complexities of your existing state, but also the opportunities afforded by emerging and disruptive technology. So the enterprise architect really, for me, has a good, strong understanding of technology. But really, I think it's more of a business-focused role, and I'm a big advocate for enterprise architecture being seen as a business capability rather than a traditional IT capability, and being the door and the glue into sort of technology understanding. Things like TOGAF, the architecture development method. They'll follow that typically at more of a conceptual level because the stakeholders. So breadth of technology and the strategic focus is a lot higher. And solution architects, work with enterprise architects and domain-specific architects like data and security. Mr. or Mrs. EA, enterprise architect, is what we're proposing as to be part of the business strategy. Is it desirable, viable, or feasible? And when I mean desirable, is it something our customer wants? Is it feasible in terms of, is this technology a realistic technology we can deploy with our current estate? And viable, does it stand up in terms of a business case, and is it going to add value? In that collaboration, but if you look at sort of the three types of architects I mentioned, enterprise, solution, and domain-specific, vendor, the bit in the middle is that desirability, viability, feasibility, and that collaboration over architectural standards. So whatever the enterprise architect embeds in that business strategy is realizable on the ground. The solution architect then works in product teams, project teams, to deliver that solution. And I think with the new world of sort of data scientists and engineering and DevSecOps, I think the traditional role of solution architect is now evolving as well. It's no longer a case of we have done the design, hand it over, move on to next project. You're part of long-lived product teams throughout the life cycle. And you need to work very closely with, your development community, as part of your CI/CD pipeline, and really understand the technology complexities of your product and solution. Because there'll be a lot of learning and refactoring that needs to be done as part of an agile delivery. And if you don't know the technology complexities and you're not a little bit hands-on with it, you're going to get inaccurate designs. And I think that will start to break down the sort of perception of architecture being an ivory tower in IT. It's somebody working with teams, really add value, but also has that door, that seat at the business table to really inform that business strategy. And domain specific, as a third tier, really important at enterprise and solution level. So data, tech, security, business architects, and so forth. They are SMEs in their own domain, and again, they desirability, viability, and feasibility of technology decisions is quite key. So that really helped me, summarize architectural boundaries and strategy set by the EA. And the solution architect is informed in that and collaborated within that process, but then they're responsible for design and delivery with engineering teams.
Right. So then, in your view, then, how is the current climate sort of going to impact on the existing sort of commercial and IT and business operations and what can be done then to address this?
Yeah, I think I was on a virtual conference a couple of weeks ago, and there were a number of sort of industry analysts and tech vendors on there, and one thing we sort of came to sort of a roundy conclusion was there's real two options, and this is not earth-shatteringly new options. One is with the current crisis that the globe is facing, is we can just roll back and look at our current operations and just make sure that we can survive, which I think is essential. But there's option two, which is every organization was doing some form of digital transformation. Right, let's put that really accelerate areas. And that may sound a little bit confusing in the current climate, but you have to do that because the advent of technologies like we're using now, video conferencing, has shown that actually the organizations can survive where they've invested in infrastructure, they've invested in flexibility for their employees, and they're using things like data, AI, analytics, and so forth to really help them make decisions in order to survive. So the opportunity is there really for option two, which is accelerate your digital transformation journey in profitable areas. And when I talk about digital transformation journey, it's not just technology that I've just mentioned there. It's about having an operating model and the people that work to really support that. So I've worked with some clients, Simon, where they haven't really invested in much into the sort of what I term digital transformation, and they may be struggling a little bit more in terms of a mindset and culture of people working in this way and being productive. While some other organizations, although not 5 days a week, a couple of days naturally expected global organizations, and they've been much quicker to adapt to this way of working. And again, advent of millennials, significant demographic now, they're driving our behaviors. This is what they want, right? And this is what they're used to. And these are the people really who are closer to these types of technologies because they've grown up around this type of technologies, these disruptive technologies, who are really going to drive this organization forward. So there's this two option. I think it's got to be option two with a context of option one. But just other areas, technology really needs to be part of business continuity planning. The fact that businesses are still being productive today, a big part of that has been technology. So business now is technology, and technology is business. Having a flexible workforce, and really sort of taking that forward.
Yeah. So then are you kind of mindful that there are going to be certain trends then sort of emerging out of this sort of post-COVID situation?
Yes, I absolutely. I think this will become a sort of the norm to some extent. But I'm still a big fan of face-to-face interaction. Real estate, they're talking about 60% now on occupancy rates in some of the big real estates in Canary Wharf. Now, I've got some friends who are in some startups, and they are looking about how we can leverage some of that space, from a cost perspective, but also sort of from a logistics perspective. And I think that's going to encourage more collaborations across organizations where you've got a number of parties all from a tech background working. Obviously, there'll be some confidentiality, but, skills transfer, adaptability, integration of your technology suites. I think, simply by having location of different people virtually or, physically, I think it's going to drive some sort of, real, leveraging the benefits of disruptive technology. And I think the pandemic will bring around those opportunities.
Yeah. No, I can, and it's going to be fascinating to see how companies embrace some might say existing tech, but it's actually taking that and moving it from what's perceived to be perhaps in the background or on the edge of what they do, and making it sort of front and center really of how they conduct their business. So we'll carry on talking about this and these topics in a lot more detail. But for now, we'll take a short break. Any comments or any views that you want to share with us, feel free to do so, and we'll be back back for a next episode and discussing these topics in a lot more detail.
Look forward to it. Cheers.